What's your sign? I'm certain the majority are familiar with this question, such a simple yet intriguing concern that we all enjoy to listen to. People look at their blogs on their phones while they're waiting in line or at work and go through endless posts of an Aries, an Aquarius, or a Cancer, etc. To be honest, I do the same because it is fun. As a society, we tend to generalize human behavior, categorize them into a box, and expect them to always be that way because they've always acted that way. Now, I'm sure by now you're thinking, where is this going? Why am I listening to this? As a young child, I know I've had several expectations and obvious assumptions because of how I carry myself, and I'm sure anyone could relate to this. This is going to inform you about who I am, my interests, and my career choices. We'll start from my childhood and follow my progress and how I got here today. My parents never expected much from me. They just wanted me to be happy, and honestly, I couldn't wish for more. However, coming from a family that is of Mexican descent and speaking Spanish primarily, school was never easy. Unlike my intelligent sister, I struggled consistently to keep my grades afloat. In kindergarten, I was already labeled as a student who would always have a difficult time learning, and I should be put in a bilingual school. My mother, of course, refused, and I kept my studies in an English school, regardless of how much I struggled. I learned at this point in my life to be self-sufficient, disciplined, and organized to keep myself at the same level as others. It's quite amusing to look back. I never gave it much thought how much I dedicated myself to succeed. I pushed myself repeatedly to ensure that I could get good grades, and no one could really stand in my way but myself. On top of the difficulties with the language, math was another disastrous topic for me. Apparently, 9 divided by 45 was the death of me, and don't get me started with multiple step equations. My brain could nearly grasp the concept. My dad at this point became my best tutor as we spent endless nights learning my multiplication, PEMDAS, division, you name it. I always admired my dad's commitment to help me improve my grades. Although he had, and still has, an exhausting job, he put nearly every night to teach me what he knew so I could succeed. I know it sounds cliche, but I look up to my dad. He made time for me. Anyways, this was the mentality I grew up with, and I assumed my future would consist of days studying, learning, improving, and struggling. This changed, however, the day I encountered such a magnificent creation, anime. My family had a weekly habit of going to the library, mainly because we had no internet at home. However, every time we would go, I would rent out a couple books, my dad would get CDs, my sister would acquire some movies, and my mom would just browse the internet. One of these trips, my sister brought back an anime disc titled Chobits, and although the show was rated PG-13 and I was a young 8-year-old, I had to watch it. The graphics were stunning and the art was amazing. Finally, I had decided I needed to master such a beautiful art form, and my love for drawing began. Again, having the exact same mentality as I did with my studies, I dedicated loads of time improving and mastering this new hobby of mine. As I delved in the discovery of art, I became introverted and I kept to myself. Other students stopped talking to me as much, and I kept a small circle of companions. I was so consumed by improving my artwork, I felt this was my calling for life. I consistently told my parents I would become a famous artist at the age of 16. I would publish several copies under my name, and my artwork would be the star. My creativity flourished out of me, and I wrote down hundreds of these ideas daily. I won art contests, and friends and family all encouraged my hobbies. My future seemed so clear. I thought art was all I needed, as I easily was successful in it, and I enjoyed it majority of the time, but life had different plans. At the age of 17, my grandfather died, and although him and I weren't very close, this left a huge imprint of what I wanted out of life. My thoughts of being an artist began to diminish, and although I thought it would be nice, I didn't want it as my career. When I spoke about it to my friends, they argued that my talent would go to waste, and that this was definitely my future. However, at the end I decided I wanted something more. I approached a teacher of mine my senior year of high school and asked for his guidance. To this day, I cannot thank him enough for his words. He expressed to me, "You don't want to be in the arts, but you feel pressured because your friends want you to go? I think you should go to Minnesota then for the end of your high school." And what? I responded, "I don't want to go to Minnesota for the end of high school." And he said, "Then why would you join art if you don't want to?" As obvious as the statement was, I needed to hear it from someone. I started from scratch looking at different careers I could take, when suddenly I remembered my mother speaking about my grandpa and how much he desired one of his children or his grandchildren to join criminal justice. At this moment, this was my moment of eureka. I quickly brought up my laptop and looked at all the career opportunities that awaited me. At this moment, I had decided that criminal justice was my true calling and enrolled into Lone Star College to pursue my associates. Looking back, as a child, I was persevering and committed to my goals. Academically, art was not my future, but it still holds an important piece of my life. Now that I'm closer to adulthood, I continue to draw, but my focus is to my career choice. My sister would always say to her friends, "She isn't smart or talented, she just works hard." To be honest, this would always offend me as I sat there listening to her. However, now I understand what she meant. I was not naturally gifted in any way, but I did work hard to get where I wanted to. That gives me pride, and it motivates me. Now, going back to my original statement where I talked about the signs, I don't think it's important for me to tell you what I am or represent you, but if you want to know, I'm a Leo.